by blocking out our sun, you know. But the higher ups that are really in charge, they know it's being sprayed, when and where. They have med beds, they have blood transfusions, they have HEPA filters in their limos, they have doomsday bunkers, they have the resources to have the anecdotes to be able to cleanse themselves of these things while we're here in the dark wondering what's being sprayed. We've got to test our soil, test our rain, test our food. Oh wait, and then finally we cross-reference the patents. Sorry, I call them patents. And I'll butcher aluminum a few times, bear with me, because we call it aluminum. But we test our things, we finally come up, they're spraying aluminum, barium, strontium. Like, it takes us ages to even come up with that. But there's more in the spray. You know, we had some toxic fog come in over the winter, and people got sick, and it woke some people up. The more they do the spraying, the more people wake up. So it's like they can't keep people from waking up by doing what they're doing. This billboard right here, "We were liars," I want to point that out. We were liars. It's on the buses. It's real. Just saying. Okay, next question.
I'm going to rattle through it. There's more people on the top.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, but people always ask as well, is it passenger planes?
So that's a common misconception. It's not the passenger planes. And believe me, I've devoted my life to this. I've been researching it for over a decade. At first I thought it was. It must be. Look at the markings on the plane. And I got a telescopic lens. Look at the plane. That's United Flight 247. If you were a trillionaire and you had $1 trillion doomsday bunker and you were in the New World Order Club, the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, you know, whatever you want to call it, you would be very smart about this. Just think about it. They have these boardrooms, they come together, they plan this out for decades to keep us in the dark. There's a flight tracker app that people download, and then they look up and they're like, oh, that's flight number whatever, going over to Amsterdam. No, I'm sorry. The billionaires, trillionaires, the ones doing the spraying, they own those things. I mean, come on, would Bill Gates really let that thing exist? He would have bought it by now, like, just think about it, right?
You mean the app there? You own the app?
Yeah, so there's an app, there's a flight tracker app that you can get, and it can show you what the planes are, and then you can be like, oh, that's United Flight 246 going over to wherever, and that's doing the spraying, therefore the passenger jets do the spraying. And then sometimes there's maybe a whistleblower that says, oh, yeah, the pilots do the spraying, or whatever. There's so much control in this narrative. I encourage people to trust your own discernment, trust your gut, but don't be fooled.
Matt, so what are the planes then if they're not the planes on the tracker app?
So it's top secret. Like, imagine, how come there's not 1 million people here today? Because the lies are so pervasive. There is military craft, primarily unmanned. There's drones. There's an aftermarket for airline planes. Just like how you can go and buy like an old rental car that maybe still has the tags on it. That doesn't mean you rented a rental car, you bought that thing. In the States, you can get an old police car, and it still has the little light on the side, but it's not a police car because I'm driving it around, I'm not a cop, you know what I mean? So there's an aftermarket for old airline planes. They leave the markings on it, or they just get their drone and put the markings on it to keep us confused. But the narrative that it is coming out of LaGuardia or Heathrow or whatnot, and that it's passenger jets, it is false. And I hate to break it to you, but considering all the funding, all the money they put into this, they have covered all their bases. They have drones, they're primarily unmanned, and it's not coming from the passenger jets, and that's a big question a lot of people ask me.
Another question is... Sorry, go on. Sorry for jumping in. Another question is, what is the difference between the long trails and the short trails? Are the short trails contrails and the long trails chemtrails? Can you talk about that first?
So this is a common misconception, and I'm glad you brought that up, Francis. Just because the trails are short doesn't mean it's okay. All right, so to manufacture this today, the hottest day of the year, you could have watched the sky yesterday, or the day before, or the day before, or the day before, and I witnessed it firsthand because I've been in London now for a few days, and I witnessed it for ages now. They're mixing chemicals in our atmosphere, okay? The short trails are a type of chemical. The medium trails, they're a type of chemical. The long trails are a type of chemical. They're using the atmosphere as a laboratory. That's a NASA quote. NASA has a budget of 80 million US dollars per day. They have a chemtrail program called CARE, C-A-R-E. They don't care. It's called the Charged Aerosol Release Experiment, where they have planes and drones and ground-based stations and a lot of resources going into making noctilucent clouds where they spray aluminum, barium, and strontium. If you look into it, NASA is part of the agenda, but the short trails are also nefarious, and they are especially used to create heat. Oftentimes, if you keep your eye to the sky, you'll see side by side, or just in the wake of the other plane, you'll see a long trail and then a short trail. They're mixing chemicals together. Maybe you'll see it on a Facebook video or on social media or something. The short trails, I'm pretty sure they're barium. The long trails, I'm pretty sure they're aluminum. But that's aside from the fact, the short trails are also worth looking into. But that's the confusion tactic, and that's the con of the contrail. Oh no, that's just a contrail, and oh no, that one's persistent because of atmospheric pressure and whatnot. No, they're mixing chemicals in our sky to pull out all these things, whether it's make rain, not make rain, dim the sun, mess with our crops, whatever it is. But keep an eye on those short trails and think for yourself.
The last question is about, we've seen some extreme weather events, and we have the net zero agenda, and how do the chemtrails tie in with that from your experience of what you've been seeing, especially in the United States at the moment?
So, in the United States at the moment, we have fires, which is part of the agenda. But even let's talk about today first. Today is the hottest day of the year. And how do they make it the hottest day of the year with their geoengineering? Well, every night I've witnessed in London, they come out and spray, and they have this chemical haze dropping and holding the heat from the day. So the first day will be 28, the next high. The next day will be 30, high. The next day will be 32, high. And today was supposed to be 33. I don't even think that's going to happen, but they'll say it. They'll say it. They'll just say it, and people will believe it, so that they can say, oh, look, global warming, climate change, bullocks, we need to dim your sun, you're welcome. But they use the chemicals to create heat waves, or heat, hot days. And so what they do is different things. They can spray the sky and then zap them with Nextrad-based stations like HAARP, which is pretty advanced, but they use microwaves to microwave the sky after they spray the aluminum. It's like putting aluminum in the microwave. So they superheat the sky to near the temperature of the sun, and then now you have hot, high pressure and heat. But especially what they'll do is on a warm day, they'll blanket the sky with chemicals, and when that heat's supposed to be released at night, you have a chemical haze keeping that heat from releasing, and then the next day is warmer. It's pretty simple. But in the States, what we have right now are fires, where I live. And now we have this thing called fire season, which is like year-round. But what they spray on our trees, and they've been doing it for now decades, is aluminum oxide and barium salts. And these are patented fire accelerants. So we've got fire accelerants sprayed on our forest, embedded in our trees. That's not going to be good for forest fires. Also, what the aluminum does is it messes up the biology of the soil. It makes it highly alkaline. So the biological chemistry of the soil is not balanced, and then fungus and whatnot can grow, and the soil makes it so that the trees cannot be healthy. Also, the aluminum is a desiccant, so it's drying out the trees, and then it's also breaking down the immune system of these trees. And where we have tree die-offs that are even next to streams and rivers, and people are scratching their heads not knowing what's going on. And then when the fires come, which they can hire arsons or precipitate lightning, what have you, with their technology. Interesting that this is happening randomly today. When the fires come, there is the technology to make rain on top of these fires.
Wow,
but instead,
right.
they geoengineer wind on top of these fires. So look out for this in coming years, because Agenda 2030 involves making rain. They're making it rain now. Making fires and then pushing people out of areas because it's fire prone. And they say, oh, you can't live here anymore because it's so fire prone. They're engineering this situation by spraying the aluminum on the trees, making it so they're dried out. putting patented fire accelerants on the trees, lighting the fires, creating high winds, directional on the fires, even directing the winds towards places like Palisades, Los Angeles, Lahaina, California, Talent in Phoenix, Oregon, Paradise, California, Lahaina, Maui, sorry. And they're taking out areas, and then the mainstream narrative is, oh, it's climate change or global warming. It's them. It's the New World Order green agenda creating this climate catastrophe by design to push people off the land. And it's not just going to end with the United States and Canada. It looks like it might rear its ugly head here, and it's time people wake up to it.